We're trying to get him
Basil Iwanyk, producer.
Ian McShane, I play Winston.
He's from Common, I play Cassie.
Chad Stahelski, director.
Keanu Reeves, John Wick.
Lawrence Fishburne, the Bowery King.
Derek Kolstad, the writer.
the sequel.
You can take the first part.
Yeah, my insurance was fine.
You know, that's a good question. I don't. There's what we tell the studio we're doing, and then what we actually do. And so I think if they knew some of the stunts that.
Is the studio out here?
Exactly. Some of the things that Chad made the actors do, maybe we would not have had approval, but we just did it anyway.
The cast was all very well trained, so right?
There were no animals hurt in the production of this film.
But yeah, there was a couple things that we had held back from, or didn't get to put in the first John Wick, or things that we wanted to initially do and then expanded on in the second John Wick, which Mr. Reeves got to do, so that was great.
Where did I see you when I saw you when I...
You came up the house.
I came up to the house and I said, how did you like John Wick? Did you see John Wick?
You came up the house. You were training for this one.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, John Wick, it was sick. It was killer. You got to put me down. And you were like, oh, yeah, I'll talk to Chad and them.
Yeah, but hold on. Wait. It was more like, you did?
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Well,
yeah.
I'll talk to Chad because I think there might be something there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
Chad jumped on it. Chad wasted no time in getting back to Mr. Fishburne. Immediate response.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, yeah. They're like, we got something. We might have something.
Yeah, I think, just real quick on that, I think when Derek and I first talked about this character, it was always with the great hope that it was designed around you.
Oh, yeah. That's lovely.
Yeah,
Since day one.
We just didn't, yeah, we all talked about it. We just didn't, we couldn't pray to the gods enough.
Oh, man. No.
So it all worked out.
Yeah, it did.
After you.
You're the director, man.
You know, when we were asked to do a sequel, we were very flattered and we were very hopeful, but it's always a challenge to do something original or something to build on what you've already built. I think when Keanu, myself, Derek, and Basil all got together and said, okay, if we're going to do a sequel, how do we do this? And I think what everyone felt affection for after the first one was kind of the world building we had done and the kind of underworld of assassins and the continental mythology in the world that we had built. So we really wanted to expand on that, and we wanted to show a little bit more insight into that world and what John Wick did in the world and all the colorful characters that we could put into that world. And I think that's where we started from, and how to build our own mythology and our own storytelling through it.
And that's why, the Bowery King and Laurence, and with Common just opening up the world of the assassins, and then also with Ian, just kind of where his purview opens up, and a little bit more about Winston.
Actions and
I don't know any real jiu-jitsu or judo or anything. I do movie kung fu. But with that, you can fake a punch, but you can't really fake a judo throw. You can get help from the person who you're throwing because they can kind of launch themselves. Thank you, Common. And then also at the same time, Common got really good at throwing people, me, too. So it's really a cooperation. And in real world, I don't do any of that.
But as far as I'm concerned, in real world, I feel like he can kick ass because he just has it. Like, it's just, I know we're doing it for a film, but you can feel the strength, and some of that just doesn't feel like film work. It's just like, this dude is throwing this blow. You better be ready to move or it's going to connect. So anyway, I know Keanu is saying he might not want to be in like any type of MMA competition or UFC, but I definitely know he's the warrior that we see John Wick as.
That's kind.
You're reminiscing?
I didn't have that experience.
No, I feel like these are two completely different guys than the guys that we are in those movies. The only similarity may be that I might know something that he doesn't know. You know, when we first encounter
Well,
each
you
other.
think that, but
Yeah, you think,
I
yeah.
actually know something.
You know something that I don't
know.
know. So, I mean, I just love the world of John Wick, the Continental, all of that. When I saw the film, and I thought, wow, I'd really like to go play with these guys. And I've been a big fan of both Common and Mr. McShane for a long time, and I was, sort of to be.
Can you give us a scene together next time?
Yeah, please. I mean,
We're working on it.
you know we love you.
Derek,
It'd be really cool to stretch it out.
Big moments in number 3 coming up.
Cassian and more, because I love the fight scenes between, Cassian and John.
I guess that might depend on how well I treat Chad and Basil if Cassian is back. But honestly, I guess it's left up to the visionaries to know if Cassian will be back. What do you say, Chad?
No, we like being slightly ambiguous in the world. I think that's a big part of the John Wick world, is to let the audience kind of take a guess at. But I think if we kind of replicated that scene twice, if you go back in the movie, John does the same type of move twice to 2 different individual characters, and there's a defining moment after what he says to comment. One character is left alive, one is not, and that's pretty much all we'll say for now.
Question right back here. Right back here.
Jerome Maida, Philadelphia Daily News. 2-part question. First of all, great movie, everybody. My first question for Keanu. For about a decade, you hadn't really made a lot of films. What about this character?
No, I haven't made a lot of films that I guess you have seen. I'll do part 1,
okay.
And then I think I speak for everyone here in the sense of you hope to do good work in good works, and that they have a chance to be seen and hopefully responded to. For me. And specifically to John Wick, it's really cool since the opening of the first one through the times to be here now and today to be a part of a film that has so much affection for it. It's very rare. Well, maybe not that rare for you guys, but for me, I guess it's pretty rare. So it's really cool.
I mean, it's rare for me too, and I think when I seen the first John Wick, it was just very special to me. It was like what I enjoy about films and watching movies. So, as far as training goes, knowing I was going to have an opportunity to join that world, and knowing that I would be able to work with Keanu and Chad, and I knew that they were just when you're working with the highest level. When I first spoke to Chad, I said, man, I want to be a great action artist, really deliver. I felt like I want to be one of the greats on screen as an actor and as a fighter. From that start, Chad took me through. They watched what I could do, and then took me back to the basics of 8711, which is the stunt company that they have, and I just learned so much. And it was a lot of work, but I wanted him to know that I was committed. I was going to give my heart and soul to this. And getting to work with Keanu and seeing how he would come in every day after doing all these different scenes and having other work to do in other scenes and fight coordination, and just him coming in bringing 110%. And I loved, it's like a perfectionist that I have within me that Keanu has. And every time we rehearse, if we didn't end it on the right note,
we gotta get the flavor.
We gotta do one more. Where's the flavor? We need the flavor. We need the flavor. And the best part and the most joyous part about this is we could get everything, the flavor and everything, and have it right. But once it gets to Chad on the day of, he'll flip it on you, and you better be ready. So, and I love the energy of that, because it's like, you just got to be present and be aware. And I think that creativity and that energy, with all the training, it's like what you want as an actor. You train and you prepare, but when you get in there, you get present and be in the moment. So it was a wonderful experience for me.
Well, it was awesome but difficult because everyone loved the character and the world so much, and we alluded to it being much bigger than what it really was. And one of the movies we brought up all the time was Ronin, where the number of times a character would say, "Do I know you by way of the German?" and it would never come up again. But just that illusion was like, it's a bigger world. So John Wick 2 went through so many iterations, but even though it was a trying development process, everyone loved the character and loved the world so much that we kept each other accountable to the point that, is this true to the core? And come the end of the day, when everyone's exhausted and yet you see the footage of the pages, it was glorious. Because even now, like, if I had to write John Wick once a year for the rest of my life, I would be blessed, And up to this point, I've been blessed still. And I think one of the things that we always loved about this is you allude to a world, but you never show all of it. Because as soon as you show the shark, it's not as cool. So we always went by that guideline.
Pretty important. No, just when you do world expansion, like Derek said, we wanted to create a mythology that serviced the entire world. Hopefully after this you realize that there's a continental or a continental-like facility in all of the major cities around the world. And in any culture, the underworld, I'll call it our assassin underworld, has been prevalent since the beginning of mankind. So I don't think cultural diversity was a big part of what we did, but as far as casting went, we tried just to find the best, most iconic character actors, as you see before you, for each role to bring a little something else. I think, there's a lot of, let's say, Wachowski alumni here, and I think they were, I spent, as did some other people here, like 10 years of our lives with them, and most of what I know from world building or world crafting comes from their tutelage. And every frame in the original Matrix, from the color palette to the way they talk to the way they look to the way they dress, means something, and I think that was a great learning experience. So when you start painting your world, you have to first start with not really the visuals or the lighting or the set pieces, but with the characters. And pretty iconic looking mugs up here right now. So I think that was a good place to start.
You're never going to hear my backstory. Because I think that's part of what Derek did great, is the fact that he didn't reveal any more about the characters. The backstories are not interesting at the moment. This is not what this film's about. I think affection is a great word, which you used before for this movie. Keanu said about affection. There is a lot of affection for this movie, brought by him, and I think the way that Derek wrote it and the way that Chad directed it, because you know from the first movie. I mean, I remember I was in Atlanta doing another movie, and this came out, and I thought, I'll just zip into it, early afternoon. And down there, I walked in, and from the first frame, you think, yeah, I'm in good hands. I'm in very good hands, and that's. I think you know that when you see any movie, of whatever kind it is, if you're in good hands or not. And we were in very good hands, so thank you. Thank you, Basil. I've worked with Basil before, so double good hands.
Well, first I have to, say that I have to give thanks to Chad for the scene you're talking about, just the look. Because Chad said, I remember doing different takes, and he said, I want you to give us something else. Try this. And as Ian said, it's like, I knew I was in great hands just from watching the first John Wick, that I could. One of the best things as an actor is to know that your director can take you to that world, so you'll listen to anything he or she says. And with Chad, I knew I could do that. So that's how we arrived at that little scene or whatever. And I'm glad you dig it in. Like we said, maybe it's an almost death. We don't know. Let's leave it there right now. But for me, my character just went from. I guess it was a coolness because things weren't astray yet. Things were just I was doing the protection, my protection and doing my job. But once John Wick came on the scene, and I always look at our characters as rivals, but we also have a reverence and respect for each other. But once he crossed the line and made Cassian have to do what he has to do, because though he has a reverence and respect for John, it's he just went past the line that he shouldn't have, and that's when you see the intensity and that type of strength come out. But then with that intensity, he's going against the best, and he feels like he's the best. So you get that real tension and friction in that. But that's what took him from the cool place to that intensity.
And Ian?
I think you were mistaking intensity for being fucking cold. But it was wonderful. Thanks.
It was really, really, really cold today. And answer your question, it was intentional. If you look at all the characters in the movie, they all confide mostly by a set of rules or the way we had designed our mythology. Winston, or Ian McShane's character, is the goalkeeper. The closer you get to the edges of the rules, the more stern and direct you'll get. He becomes both prophet, oracle, and mom and dad to say, don't do this, you should do this. If you do this, this will happen. Don't steal from the cookie jar. Common and Keanu, when they get to that point of you're coming close to breaking my rules, they turn it on. And again, I think the most important thing that kind of gets across is rules and professional courtesy. So I think that's what they both share, and I think that's the difference between how Keanu deals with or how John Wick deals with his opponents.
You see, you're in good hands.
Anybody else want to talk about John Wick?
Absolutely, yeah. A puppy, a dead wife. He's gorgeous looking. He's got $1 million in the basement, and he can do any kind of martial arts you want. Namely, he should be on The Bachelor.
Honestly, think of any great action hero or any great hero out there, or great character actor. You kind of transcend the character. You just don't love the character. You love the guy. And when you have, in any of the great action stars, you see the guy doing the work. We started with that. That was our process for developing John Wick. So we found somebody crazy enough to go through the training. Thank you. That can do all the gun work, the martial art work, the choreography, set up the shots we want to do, so you build an honesty with the character. I mean, the big thing about John Wick is, not only can he do long uncut takes of, 50 guys at once doing jiu-jitsu, judo, and things, you believe him. It's not some other character in some other scene going, hey, John Wick was a Navy SEAL, he did this, this, and this. We don't talk about it, we just showed it to you. So you believed in the character. You don't have to be told what he can do, you've seen it. Not only did you see it, you saw the individual playing John Wick do it. That buys us credibility, it buys honesty in the character. You also see somebody that cries over a puppy and fights female assassins in his boxer shorts. You can relate to that. Because everybody fights in their boxer shorts, right? And it's just what we try to do is kind of go outside the box a little bit with our heroes. You do have hotel manager, you have another underworld. We try to get characters that have that little bit of human nature to them that you kind of buy, and then expand from there.
But it's also the magic of the process, because all these answers are, we say in retrospect, at the time we didn't think we were doing what we were doing, and you put a movie together and sometimes it just works, and sometimes unfortunately it doesn't work. But this one, with all these disparate ideas and some crazy world building and the puppy and all this other stuff, you just watched it and it worked. And I always say it's the movie gods. It's like it just, and we kind of deconstructed after the fact, but at the time we were just trying to make a movie that was emotional and had some great action and get out alive, literally and figuratively. And so it just was the great alchemy of everybody involved in all these, the cumulative effect of a lot of little decisions.
Those sometimes intersect. Yeah. Like the most difficult can become the most fun. Yeah. All of the action is difficult. And all of it's a lot of fun. I don't know, Colin, what do you think? What do you got? What do we got? They all have a certain kind of charm to them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely... What do you think? I think, I could say, like, fighting in Rome, on the streets of Rome was really, it was exciting and it was difficult, too, because, as I stated once before, Chad is I really think is brilliant and creating these things, and he also has a spontaneity to him, which I really love, to be honest. And
that just means I changed my mind a lot.
Yeah, basically, I'm saying it in a nice way, Chad. but anyway, it turns out, some of the things that he presented was new, but it just brought an energy and us fighting on the streets of Rome, and just as Keanu said, it could be the most difficult. But when we strike it in the right place, it's we both could look at each other and be like, man, this is fun.
Yeah, like when after you hit me with the car and we got that kind of like little impromptu gunfight.
Yeah.
You know, we cooked that up there.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, and then when we, you know, I think the Cassie and John fight before we crash into the Continental, I think that was the most difficult fight technically.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure,
because
yeah.
we didn't have all of the jiu-jitsu experience and we had the guns and it had to, you know, so we had to go through that process of just learning how to walk, you know, and then we were training after we were fighting other fights. So I would say that one had like the longest tail. But it's also, when you look at it, it's got a real combustion and intensity to it, right? Like that Cassie and John fight from Philadelphia, that ain't so bad, right? You know, it's got like, I don't know, the intimacy of it. You also cut out the soundtrack in that, you know, the music, mono a mono, and like, and that was part of the development of that fight. But I would say that fight, yeah, and then you're like choking me and dragging me backwards, and I'm trying to do a reload, and like you're taking. Also, you have to understand, these are cooperations, like you said with a dance. It's like, it's a partnership, you know, and you really, you can't do it without the other person. You know, you have to cooperate. And I think that fight demanded the most cooperation and the most technical, but also it has a ferocity and a kind of rawness to it, like, and a skill level, right? Yeah. Remember the teacup, like fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'm over you. I have a pistol. You have a knife, and then I got to pull you, and you got to do a 270 spin on your back, and there's like 3 transitions in that one move that you have to like get your legs behind my knee, under my shoulder, then push off, and then come back around. And it's like, that was great, guys. Not. I think we're doing that again. Yeah.
And like, what would you say, like, as a director coming at it from that way? What's your favorite scene?
I like all the action scenes, obviously. No, for me, it's more about like the high and the low. It's kind of what each fight scene makes you feel right afterwards. A great moment for me is right after these guys get done fighting, they crash through the window and they go, "Okay, I think it's time to go have a drink at the bar."
Yep.
Like, that's fun. That's cool. They break through in the Continental. Like, that whole fight scene, all that ferocity, all that trying to kill each other was meant for the payoff for that one beat. When Franco goes, "Gentlemen, we'll take you over," that's what it's meant for. And then the whole, you know, in the beginning or the end of the first reel, when Keanu gets back from Rome and all of New York is after him, and he fights the violinist and he fights all these guys and he does some work with a pencil and he does all this stuff. It all comes back to, I mean, all that payoff of that whole gauntlet pays off to meeting the new character, our Bowery King, the man, the myth, the legend. Like, that's what the payoff is for. You know, hey man, you got a quarter, and our homeless guy shoots him and it ends up being like, we try to build you up with the action to take you down. The whole thing with the opera is the opera. Okay, we're going to do what? You want to do a gunfight during a rock concert? And Basil was like, yeah, we want to do a gunfight during a rock concert. So we did that, and you do all the catacombs, and what's the payoff for that? Getting hit by a car by this guy who you think disappeared. So every action sequence was built with a payoff. And that's how to build you up and then let you go and go, oh, that was kind of funny, even though you shot 37 guys in the face. So for me, it's the payoff after the action sequence, like how much can I take you over here so I can slam you down over here? And that's kind of at least the fun of action design.
I think a lot of it comes from the fact that I'm not a cynic, and I really do believe that come the end of the day, the worst of us can find salvation. And he found his salvation in his wife. And I think that the unspoken in that first one is he got what he didn't deserve and knew that. And I think that we all recognize that in different levels of our own lives. So that when the dog comes in and when the dog is taken from him, it's this notion of, did I change or is this an excuse? And the reality is both. But come the end of the day, he did change. Because I love in the first one where he comes up behind, who's the big WWF guy? You know, he puts the gun in, he's like, you lost weight. Francis. And he's not going to kill him. Because, like, I'm not going to kill you. Like, we're friends. Yeah. Like, the notion. The off, Francis. Yeah. So even though John works within these guidelines and these rules, it's not a matter of him being good or bad. He has found his way. And I think that's why people automatically gravitate towards him.
Yeah, well, I think some of the most beneficial things that being an artist has brought to me in film is just, you're not afraid to to do things. You know, you used to being in front of people, so you just know you can. That's not the problem. You know, the biggest thing is just getting into the character and really delivering. And one of the things I remember Keanu and I both, you know, we just wanted to make Chad happy. You know, on like if we made Chad happy, then we knew we were doing the right thing, and the film could be great. So being a hip hop artist allows me to let all the other like the things that you would be embarrassed about or trying. It's like, nah, I've, you know, experienced that, and then also like, you know, I've been through the stages of where equipment goes out on you while you're performing, or people are throwing pennies at you or something. So my thing, is, and I literally pennies, like, you know, it's not too much that can throw me off, is what I'm saying. And I think, you know, those are some of the qualities that I really, you know, am grateful that I come from, you know, the hip hop culture and doing music. But all the rest is, hey, you gotta be an actor, because everybody that makes the transition or tries to act just because they're a musician, they can't do it. You gotta be true to the craft and really have a passion for it.
Is it quick?
Well, I mean, I just loved acting. As a kid, I loved like going to see theater. I loved movies, but I didn't have the courage to do it until, you know, a certain point where I hit a ceiling with music and was like, man, I just got to study something that I'm really passionate about, and that's where it came. So now that's my desire and dream. If I'm still that kid dreaming about that.
I love the movie, and then I can't watch. And then I can watch, and I don't care what you do after that, because you can just do whatever you want. Seemed to be the reaction to people that responded to the film. You know, they were really affected by what happens to the dog and with John, and I get it. And then in the second one, that's one of the first things. Can't wait to see the movie. You don't kill another dog, do you? And we don't.
What was the dog's name?
Well, there are a couple of them. In the movie, he doesn't have a name.
It's called a dog.
Yeah.
Still working on it.
Yeah.
Derek didn't write one.
Yeah. We'd all be like, yeah, it's
very John Wayne.
We all love
Don't
dogs.
work with dogs. No.
So John.
That was the first day, wasn't it? The puppy, remember?
But it is
On an
integral to
invisible
the
lead.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is integral to the story, because it's part of, you know, what's going on in his life and that relationship. You know, part of being symbolic of, you know, something, the thought that and love that his wife gave him. And you know, they're you know, he's responsible for the beast, and, you know, and so they have a little, I don't know if they have a journey together. It's not like a man and dog road movie.
That's what happens, right?
Huh?
That's what's happened in 3. It's a John and the dog.
Yeah.
The man and his dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the plot might be a
dog
little
is
bit
man.
thicker than that. But
It's animated, actually, and there's this pack of dogs.
Musical.
And it's called the Kennel. And the
None of them have names.
No, and then it's just talking animated dogs, and they're like,
No, that's when you leave your dogs at the door next time at the Continental. Lance Reddick takes care of them.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we want you back.
I would love to.
Come on, before you kidnap. So it's like no professional search.